Good morning, family. The reason I say family is because I do consider you all family. I may not know you all personally, but I have love for you. I have love for everybody. So, you are my family. Just don't ask to borrow any money. Well, I have a couple of early um, memories, but the ones that stick out the most from the earliest is when I was about 7 years old. And as I'm speaking, if any of you can relate in some way, feel free to look up at me and, like nod your head or raise your hand and, let me know I'm with you, man. And maybe we can talk afterwards and, vent a little bit or whatever we have to do to help each other get to where we need to be, right? So, at 7 years old, my house was filled with bikers, booze, and babes. And that's how they were called. Because my dad was the president of a bikers club. Right? If you don't know what that means when I say club, ask me afterwards, I'll let you know. So there was always booze, cigarettes, bikes all over the yard and in the front yard, and ugly looking biker dudes and biker babes running through the house on the weekends or whatever, right? And they thought, for some reason, it turned into this joke where when I would walk by, they would reach out and unbutton my pants before I could stop them. I'm 7 years old, right? That's as early as I was when I had to start watching my back, pretty much. And they thought it was funny to bust open my pants and pull them so my zipper would go down. I remember I was 7 years old. And these guys that were 30, 40, whatever, and the women that were with them was about the same age, I guess. As a kid, I didn't know. Thought it was funny. And of course, 7 years old, I felt, hurt, confused, vulnerable, you name it. I was scared. I didn't know. And when I would tell my mom, she would just, it's okay, don't worry about it, let it go. I'd go tell my dad, and he would say, stop being a crybaby, be a man, take care of yourself, fight back. Or he would say, stop being a crybaby, go outside. Or if it was dark or cold, he'd say, go to your room. Which he liked telling me to go to my room, out of the way, go away. So, next time they showed up, I was ready to fight back, so I would cuss at them, right? And I would hit their beer and try to knock it onto them. I was trying to fight back any way I could. I didn't know. Well, of course, when my parents saw me doing that, hey, what are you doing? Leave them alone. Don't disrespect my brothers, blah, blah, blah. But they thought it was funny that people in the club thought it was funny that a 7-year-old was cussing and hitting beers out of their hand, right? So that went on for a little while. I don't know what happened, but the bike club thing stopped. Maybe my parents grew up a little bit. I don't know. But shortly after, my dad wasn't happy. He was a truck driver, and he would get upset a lot, which that anger slowly turned towards me and to my mom. Next memory I want to talk about is when I was 9 years old. And at 9 years old, I had an escape route, an emergency escape route out of my house. At 9 years old, I had a plan in my head just in case I ever needed it to hurry up and get out of my house. Now, mind you, I'm 9 years old, so it's not like I have, a trapeze and high wire to get across or anything. It was a couple of boards in the back fence where I could open up and I can get out of the yard quickly, right? I learned how to unlock the doors real quick and run out, be aware of my surroundings, make sure I didn't hit the clothesline. So anyway, I used my escape route because I could hear my parents in their bedroom, and I could hear the slaps on my mom's face. I didn't know what they were, but I could hear her yelling and crying, saying, don't, saying his name, saying, please stop. And my older brother and sister would just go to the room and hide. Well, I couldn't. Right? So, used my escape route. I ran to the phone booth. Now, mind you, heading to the store, the phone booth, I had to walk through this alley where there was a bunch of drunks because there was bars on one side and a little bitty house on the other side where a lot of the drunks lived. So I would normally pick up rocks and sticks and fight my way through. Right? Yeah, that's during the day. So at night it was the same thing. I just, ran through there. Luckily, they didn't mess with me. I don't remember them messing with me. I guess I was just running too fast. I got to the phone and realized I didn't have any money. There was this guy leaning on the phone, and I borrowed a dime from him because that's what it cost to make a phone call back when I was 9 years old. And I called the cops, said, hurry, my dad is beating up my mom. And then I ran back home. When I got home, my dad was standing in the front yard asking me if I told him to hurry, and he was about to hit me across the face like he had done before. Cops showed up, Dad went to jail. Well, there was 3 kids at home. Dad was driving the truck, Mom was doing the bills, so I'm sure you understand. I guess they worked it out and Dad was back in the house. So life kind of went on, except for he was a little more short-tempered with me. He took it out on me a lot. Right, so I would hear a lot of, why aren't you smart like other kids? Why aren't you smart like that? How come you're not into sports like them? Why are you such an ass, Everything was kind of my fault. I could remember working with him out in the fields. We were swamping grapes, grape boxes. I would throw the boxes up, and I was laying under the truck because it was hot and there wasn't any shade. So I was laying in the dirt under the truck, and he started the truck to move it, and he said he forgot I was there, but I said, I'm going to take a nap right here because we needed to wait. And later, when he was sitting at home with my mom, he was sitting there. He was crying. At least he was acting like he was crying, because when Mom left, he turned around and looked at me with a serious look like, that's what you get. So that's kind of like what my childhood was. Can anybody relate? I mean, maybe not relate exactly to the same thing, but if anything, I don't want to say triggered you, but brought back some kind of memory to you, then feel free to, like I said, give me a look, lift your hand and let me know. Because the whole reason behind me wanting to speak to others is to let others know that you don't have to be stuck where you're at. And not just you, but anybody who wants to listen, right? That's my life now. So, 13 years old, I was actually this size. I kind of grew up, I lifted weights, the old Sears cement weights. So I was a pretty big guy, and I had anger issues. And because the father that was supposed to be protecting me was beating me, and the mother that was supposed to be nurturing me was kind of touching me inappropriately. And it gradually, as I got older, Mom's touching progressed. But anyway, that's a different part of the story. So at 13, I'm running around in the streets. I had my ear pierced, wearing an earring. I had a tattoo, really ugly tattoo done by one of my drunk buddies one night. And I was coked out of my mind. First time I had coke, I got it from my older brother. He gave me a line and he wanted to sell me some more. Well, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, so I thought I'd cut out the middleman, and I found someone else who would front me some. And I started selling it to support my habits, and the money that I owed my brother, well, I paid him with the product, so I didn't have to sell anything. So that's how I was up to 13 years old, okay? Can anybody relate to anything that I'm saying? Right. Well, I never really had any counseling, and so that feeling of anger, of disconnected or abandonment, whatever you want to call it, because I felt like I was all alone. Well, that followed me through my teenage years, of course, and into my young adulthood, 18, 20, when I was getting jobs. And I would get good jobs. I'd walk up and I would talk and I'd be presentable and I would get good jobs. But it didn't take long for me to be telling myself, it's going too good. Something's going to happen. The shoe's going to drop, right? And like the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so shall he be. It's also a good book, by the way. And if you want to buy it, you can buy it through my link on Amazon. But because I had all these anger issues, abandonment issues, confused, and always thinking I wasn't good enough because I was told when I was a kid, why aren't you good enough? Basically. That followed me through every job I ever had till recently, and three failed marriages. Because every time I felt disrespected, I would start to shut down. I would start to close off. I wouldn't lash out much, but it was always respect. Don't disrespect me. And that followed me, and that's why I got into a lot of fights as a kid and a young adult. Got into so many fights I lost count. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to my shame, because I didn't know how to deal with people like that, because I would get scared remembering how when I would talk back to my dad, I'd get beat. I'd get beat, right? One time I thought I was a tough guy, and I saw my dad flinched, and I went to block, and I forgot he was a lefty, and he clocked me and knocked me out, right? Knocked out by my own father. So I would fight back. I'd get mad, and anybody wanted to fight, let's go. Don't speak about it, be about it. Let's go. And then when they wanted to back out, I didn't want to let them, because I was already mad and they had to deal with it. I had to get this anger out. I didn't know what to do. And looking at my life, I would think, it's got to be more than this. This can't be my life. This is a dead-end life to me. I'm not going anywhere. I can't do anything. I can't accomplish anything. At 18, I had my own detail business where people would let me take their cars to my house. Right? I ordered a big compressor from Finger Hut, and I got a detail brush from a car wash that I was working at. They were going to throw it away. I took it home and fixed it. And I would do details in 1983. Well, it didn't last long, because I would feel that the shoe was going to drop. And I was already in my first marriage and had a couple of kids, and I wanted to do the right thing, so that's where life was. And when things would go bad as an adult, there's no way out. There's no crying. There's no going to your room. So what do? When you push and push and push and push and get tired, I'll be honest with you, I had thoughts of suicide a few times. And when the first wife confessed to cheating on me a lot, even with my own uncle, I thought about suicide. Seriously thought about it. Planned it the whole bit. But something inside me would not let me roll over and die. So I didn't know what else to do, so I would just work. I threw myself into my work, and I stayed there. Well, years later, after accepting Christ into my heart, I found out that it wasn't me that did let me roll over and die. It was God letting me know He wasn't done with me. As I began to read the Bible more, and I was spending more time in church, my brothers would come to me for counseling, and I became one of the pillars in the church. I served at a Cornerstone Church for a little more than 10 years. When I found out that my brothers needed more help than what I could give, I started taking classes in sexual assault and domestic violence. Because when one of my brothers came to me and told me he was assaulted by his own dad, that one kind of threw me. I said, I need to help my brother, but I don't know how. So I took classes on sexual assault and domestic violence. And in the process, I got a little counseling for myself through that. So that began my journey of wanting to help my brothers, serving the church, knowing that God had a better plan for me than the one I was on. And because of these experiences, can anybody relate to anything I was talking about? Okay, good. Well, because of these experiences, I want to use the rest of my time here on earth, no matter where I may be, whether I'm driving a truck, whether I'm talking to someone, whether I'm doing this speaking or coaching through online, whatever it is, I want to be able to improve everybody's life one way or another. So that's why I'm on this mission, this journey. What do you think, my brother?